In the year 2092, the air on Earth is so polluted that the sun is not visible during the day. There is not a shadow of greenery everywhere, and anyone who goes out must wear a gas mask. During those dark times, a technology corporation called UTS brought a ray of hope to humanity. They have successfully created an artificial land just outside the Earth's atmosphere. The ecosystem here is recreated exactly like on Earth and is a paradise for all life. However, only a small number of rich and powerful people can become citizens of UTS. Meanwhile, most of humanity is still left behind on Earth. They face poverty and illness and must find ways to survive day by day. At this time, the male protagonist is at a morgue hoping to find the body of his daughter who died in a space accident. Taeho was so poor that he didn't have any cash. He could only pay the mortuary management a little rice that he had collected. However, the others flatly refused and asked him to leave. Suddenly, they saw that the shoes Taeho was wearing seemed valuable, so they asked him to leave them behind. Without thinking, Taeho agreed. Then he was taken to the place where the body was kept. However, Taeho was extremely sad when he realized that it was not his daughter. At this time, a group of Earth reporters are having a press conference with the most powerful man in the world named Sullivan. He is the founder of UTS and is revered as a messiah. Even though he has lived for 150 years, he still looks as young as he is in his 30s. Sullivan introduced to the group of reporters a mutant plant capable of providing 10 times more oxygen, and said that his ambition was to turn Mars into the new home of humanity. Returning to Taeho, he is now controlling a ship called Victory orbiting the Earth to collect space waste armor. This is an extremely dangerous job because the fragments are traveling at a speed faster than a bullet. However, for poor people like Taeho, this is the easiest way to make money. The waste they collect will be sold to a recycling company for use. In addition to Taeho, there are 3 other members on the ship, including a beautiful female commander named Jong, a tattooed man named Tiger, and finally an intelligent robot named Bap. They are an extremely well-coordinated team. Taeho controls the ship to follow the pieces of cornucopia. Bap stood outside and threw straws to grab targets, and then drag them back to the ship. The piece will then be processed by Tiger. The entire process was extremely skillfully directed by Jong. Not only do they collect freely floating pieces of sense, but they also appropriate pieces of sense from other groups. A Chinese ship chased right behind to reclaim the stolen pieces of jade. However, Jong controlled the robot arms to prevent them from doing that. As soon as the ship approached a giant solar shield, Taeho maneuvered the ship through it very skillfully and successfully cut off the pursuers. Once finished, he calmly leaned back in his chair to relax, unaware that the ship was rushing towards the atmosphere of UTS. As soon as he recognized Taeho, he immediately swerved to avoid it. But the ship accidentally damaged the antenna of a nearby satellite. A moment later, the Victory ship successfully landed at the recycling factory. The amount of waste they collected was sold for more than $500. However, before Tu could even touch the money, he quickly put it away. Then he took out a notice to pay a fine of more than $1,000 because they damaged the satellite antenna. Tu was extremely bitter because it turned out that the money he earned was not even enough to pay the fine. Returning to the Victory ship, the group had nothing to do, so they invited each other to play cards. Taeho and Jong secretly colluded to arrange a fine for Bap's bet. Suddenly Tiger said that his rice had been stolen by someone. At that moment, he saw Jong calmly drinking wine and immediately assumed that she had taken rice in exchange for wine. However, the truth is that Taeho is the culprit. Even though he used all sorts of cheating tricks, Bap still won all their money in the end. Taeho was extremely bitter because he believed Jong that they would win. Tiger asked to return the rice, but Jong flatly refused because she did not take it. In the end, all 3 people rushed into each other and ended up lying unconscious on the floor. A moment later, they dismantled a spaceship together to find upgrade parts for the ship. Suddenly Taeho heard a noise. He went to check and was surprised to find a little girl hiding there. Taeho decided to bring the girl back to the Victory ship. They were all extremely confused because they didn't understand why a little girl was trapped in a ship floating in space like that. While not knowing what to do, the news channel suddenly announced an urgent news. The UTS military is searching for a robot named Dorothy that was just stolen by the terrorist organization Black Fox 2 days ago. They installed a hydrogen bomb on the robot with extremely dangerous destructive power. Coincidentally, Dorothy's appearance looks exactly like the other girl. Fearing the bomb would explode, they all ran back to their room and locked the door. After thinking for a while, they decided to call the police. However, because they are not UTS citizens, they can only send emergency messages. While waiting for a response from the police, they decided to lock Dorothy outside the ship. Because she lost the rock-paper-scissors game, Thursday was the one who had to take on that job. But before he could do anything, Dorothy discovered him, causing the young man to quickly hide behind a sign in fear. Calming down, Taeho quickly picked up the girl's backpack and hid back in the room. Rummaging through his backpack, Taeho found a cell phone. Inside were a series of missed calls from a person named Song. Immediately, an idea flashed in Taeho's mind. On this side, Dorothy's eyes suddenly turned blue by some mysterious power. The girl made the dry chop tree lush again. At this time, Taeho and the others were studying and discussing plans together. If the UTS Army and the Black Fox terrorist group both want Dorothy, then she must be very valuable. TU convinces the group to carry out $1 million mission, an amount of money that they could never get in their whole life. They will take Dorothy to exchange with the terrorist organization Black Fox for ransom. So they all made a connection call to Tsang to demand $2 million. Unexpectedly, the other person immediately agreed and arranged to meet at a shopping center tomorrow. Thinking about that huge amount of money made them all extremely happy. But they did not expect that Sullivan had also overheard the conversation. He immediately ordered the UTS Army to capture Dorothy and bring him back. While waiting for the appointment time, Tiger was assigned to look after Dorothy. The two played and talked and gradually became closer to each other. Tiger no longer sees Dorothy as a robot, but sees her as a real person. It was almost the happy hour. Tu and Tiger immediately prepared their things to leave for the meeting place. However, just as they were about to leave, a police officer suddenly came. They were all extremely confused and afraid that the plan had been revealed. But it turned out that the police officer only came to check after receiving Tiger's emergency text message earlier. Suddenly, the policeman saw a figure hiding behind the door. He immediately went to check and almost discovered Dorothy. Luckily, the girl was able to hide in a corner in time. It was almost happy hour, which made everyone extremely worried. Because he wanted the police officer to leave quickly, Taeho immediately stole money from BAP to bribe him. The police officer still didn't understand what was going on, but Jong put money in his hand and recorded a video, then threatened that if he didn't leave quickly, they would prosecute him for accepting bribes. The police officer was afraid of losing his job, so he quickly left. A moment later, Tu and Tiger were present at the meeting place. However, they did not know that the UTS Special Forces team sent by Sullivan was ambushing the surrounding area. After a while of searching, Tuesday who finally met a man named Song. Taeho asked to hand over the money first, so Kong Song gave them a suitcase. There was indeed $2 million inside, not missing a penny, making the whole group extremely excited. However, when it was time to turn Dorothy in, they all panicked when they realized that the backpack that had hidden her was now empty. They immediately split up to search. At this time, Dorothy was standing in the middle of the nightclub, intently looking at the flashing lights. The people around realized that the mobile bomb was standing right in front of their eyes and were extremely scared and ran away. Hearing the noise, Tiger immediately ran to check. At that moment, UTS soldiers simultaneously opened fire toward the crowd. When Caillou and Tiger found Dorothy, everything around them was engulfed in flames. While in a dangerous situation, suddenly an invisible shield appeared to protect them from a hail of bullets. When the UTS soldiers approached, they escaped. When they got back to the ship, the group realized that in the chaos they had lost their suitcase of money. Taeho was extremely frustrated and wanted to contact Song again. But Jong broke the phone because he was afraid of being eavesdropped. Dorothy now says that its real name is Konam. When Tiger heard that, he was extremely excited because the name sounded very cute. However, Taeho was not very happy because he did not want them to become too close to a mobile bomb at UTS headquarters. A meeting between senior members is taking place. Sullivan explained that the root of UTS's technology to create artificial planets is nanobots. This technology is also being deployed on Mars. However, there is a wave called Kryton that is generated from the bomb when Dorothy explodes. It can disable all nanobots, so they must find Dorothy quickly. At this time, Taeho and his teammates were at the recycling factory. They are repairing and refueling the Victory ship, then will try to contact Kong. Taeho is still depressed about losing money. Suddenly, I came over to tell him about the tomato plant. It is now growing luxuriantly. Immediately money popped into Taeho's head, so they both picked tomatoes and sold them. Because fresh food like this is never available outside the space station. So everyone scrambled to buy them, and soon the tomato cart was sold out. Thanks to that, they earned quite a bit of money. During this time, I become closer to everyone. The girl was told by Bap about the backgrounds of each member on the ship. It turns out that Tiger was formerly a famous gangster. He was sentenced to prison on Earth, so he had to flee to outer space. However, Tiger is a good person because the illegal money he earned is distributed to the poor. Meanwhile, Bap was once a killing machine tasked with assassinating important targets. But now, Bap has only one dream, which is for the tree to grow a whole body so it can look like a human. As for Taeho, he is the one with the most painful past. Previously, he was the #1 commander of the UTS task force. During a mission, Taeho found a newborn baby lying in the arms of its deceased mother. According to the law, the baby had to be sent to Earth, but because he felt guilty, Taeho adopted the baby. At that time, he also had some power, so everything went quite smoothly. Father and son continued to live together very happily. However, those beautiful days did not last long. Since witnessing the child's mother's cruelty, Taeho has never taken anyone's life again. Because he could not complete his assigned tasks, he was fired. So in just a moment, father and son became poor people wandering the streets of the market, living day to day. While gambling to make money, a piece of waste collided with the ship, causing many people to be blown out into space. Among them was Taeho's daughter. Since then, he has never stopped searching for his daughter's whereabouts even though it costs a lot of money. That's why until now Taeho still does everything to make money. Only Captain Jong has no information about her return to the present. At this time, everyone has finished repairing the ship and is contacting Song to exchange information. However, while they were not paying attention, a stranger took the child away. After a while of chasing, Tiger finally caught up and defeated the intruders. Unexpectedly, those people were colleagues working in the recycling factory. Not only that, all of them are also members of the Black Fox organization. After a while of asking, the others finally told them the truth. It turns out that the Black Fox organization is not a terrorist, as UTS claimed. They are essentially an environmental protection organization on Earth. You are not a robot, but the daughter of scientist Song. Song has a PhD in nanobot technology research from UTS. Before that, Konam suffered from a strange disease of the nervous system that could not be cured. In desperation, Song bet on injecting Konam. The nanoboss, he programmed himself to regenerate cells.